And I started podcasting, and we're
We're
going. Hey,
succeeding.
viewers, we're succeeding. We're succeeding. Ah,
For now. For
well, for
now.
now.
Until we inevitably fail.
Uh, well, we'll get to that in about 90 minutes from now. Um, oh
Assuming
yeah.
Cam doesn't ditch us. Like she already has.
Yeah.
But
So,
anyway,
Kamui, what are we talking about tonight?
things that make no sense.
Well, you're not wrong. Okay, so actually, I didn't even consider this. So, are you able to watch my screen if I share my screen? I guess it
Not right
doesn't really
now.
matter, but I'll share my screen
Not right
anyways.
now. Yeah, just describe it.
Okay,
Briefly.
okay. So, Kamui, if you remember, at the end of the previous Ten Tails podcast trilogy live stream thing that we've got going here, and even in the previous one before that, I was talking about wood style, and then in the previous room, I was talking about how because this is our Tin Tails rewrite. So I was talking about how I thought that we could do the body versus soul separation thing of the Ghetto Mazo of the physical energy. Then you have the mental or spiritual energy being in the spirit weapons of the quote unquote Ghetto Mazo or whatever it's gonna be.
Oh, that's where we left off.
So
Okay.
yeah. And I was saying that I think that the Ghetto Mazo should be able to seal tailed beasts, whereas the spirit weapons should be able to seal
Okay.
anything but tailed beasts, and that's just as far as you need to go, and that just would be the basic explanation. And there's more to it, but just as a basic explanation, that should be just fine. It's a rewrite anyways, and so I don't. There should be no problems with that as a general basic concept. Immediately.
Well, you can say that. I feel like I've already said my piece on this. I don't like it. Like I've already
Mm.
explained. I feel like I don't really need to keep reiterating it.
Okay. Well, let's talk on new points in reference to this. So this was my wood
Yeah.
style thing that I finally understood. And in reference, you did say, because you did respond to this, you did say to my wood style thing, although a lot of what you said makes sense, there's a lot of problems as well because it doesn't make sense in the first place. When you hyperanalyze these particular details, we'll get into it. Ha ha. On November 24th of 2024. So in reference to the things of which you think are problematic, so my wood style thing. So let's see what I said here, and I already know because I already read it at the end of the previous stream when I was trying to find where it was, and it was very easy to do so. So it's pretty good to for that.
I don't know what I said at this. I'll have to go back down in a few
Well,
minutes,
I
but
just told you word for word what you said in response to what I said, which I'm about
but I
to
don't know
say
what
now.
but I don't remember what you said specifically that I was referring to.
Well, I'm about to tell you. I
Okay.
finally understand everything. It all just clicked, which you were also teasing me for, because you said it was hilarious how I finally understand everything, only to immediately get yin and yang wrong again. Okay, but anyway, so I understand everything. So, okay,
Oh,
Hagoromo used
okay. I remember that
creation
clip.
of all things to separate the body and chakra of the Tin Tails. We know that just is a fact. This isn't a theory or anything. This isn't a rewrite. That just is true. The rest of the wood style is just a theory, but it's a plausible way it could work, unless you're gonna nitpick the hyperanalyzation of the detail. We'll get into it, as you say. So the Ghetto Mazo kept the physical, which I think is the yin energy, and I think because I was
No, you
reading
got it
this.
wrong already. You already got it wrong.
Well, did I get it wrong? Because I was reading this again at the end of the previous stream where we had just finished talking about it, and it seems like this is the consensus that we were saying at the least at the very end of the
Yin
previous
is
stream.
spiritual, yang is physical.
Okay, whatever. Well, whatever. Okay. So just reverse them in your head then. Do you want me to say it reversed, or do you want me to just keep reading it the way it is? Because at least it's
Say it
consistently
reversed.
wrong.
Say it reversed.
Say it reversed. Okay, so the Ghetto kept the physical or the yang energy, while the tailed beasts have the mental or yin energy. Yeah, this is hard to do it reversed. Which comprises their physical bodies, which Hagoromo just made using creation of all things. So that works. That all makes sense. But it's Barionmo, it's everything else. The tailed beast death. That it all just makes sense in that way. So this is why the Ghetto can move on its own sometimes, because it has chakra, question mark, seemingly, maybe? Thoughts on that? Because it has physical energy, and chakra is mental and physical energy. So Hagoromo separated the mental energy from the Ten Tails and created physical form for the Ten Tails' mental energy. Which is ridiculous, but thoughts?
Well, okay. I'm looking at this briefly before I go back upstairs just so I can re-see everything. So the first thing is,
well,
I
we're
just want
going
to
like
clarify.
step by step here.
Yeah, so there's going to be two things. One is, so for example, Naruto had the yang half of Kurama, the physical energy. That's why the Setsus turn into trees and all that shit when they run into
that one, I don't know if
I have a question. Well, hold on.
Okay,
My question for you is, in this theory / rewrite / fact, whatever this is, are you saying that yang half of Kurama is essentially Hagoromo created shenanigans? He just created physical energy, and that's what that is. It's just Hagoromo, essentially. Whereas the yin half in Minato is the ten-tailed spiritual energy. Is that what you're saying? Or is that just going to be a flaw?
It's not a flaw, because I think that just is separate in general, even though it's using the same words yin and yang to describe the two different light and dark
it's not,
halves.
because they're emphasizing the life physical energy coming out of Naruto, and it's the explanation for why Zetsu's just turning into trees and all that, as well as a few other things.
So
they're not just using
emphasizing it. It wasn't very emphasized, even if it's there.
It was. It was downright stated. It's in. I'm probably both the manga and the data books, but it's one, at least one of them. I'm pretty sure that the actual story itself.
So is it because of that specific half of Kurama implying the other half of Kurama would not do this?
Correct. Is what's kind of implied there.
You'd have to show me that.
At the time, we didn't know that it was split the way it was, but retroactively, you would infer it that way because of the way they say everything. It wouldn't make sense.
But either way, that's just further splitting what's already there anyway. So I feel like Kurama's like the one to not look at just for the basic theory, and Kurama's maybe
because then you start asking different questions, because as is explained, the tailed beasts are just this is where we start running into the problems that just are problems in the first place. But the tailed beasts in general have been repeatedly described. They are the chakra of the Ten Tails, and the Ghetto statue is supposed to be the chakra-less body of the monster. We'll get into the problems later, but as it is, it's consistently stated again and again. It's just the chakra of the Ten Tails. They never specify just spiritual energy. With that in mind, you would just default assume that I have things you can say, but you would default assume the tail beasts are just the chakra of the Ten Tails. They would be both the mental and the physical in that case. Which would explain why, you could split the yin and yang half of Kurama and all that jazz, and it was willy-nilly. Now, part of the issue comes with the Ghetto statue itself, which seemingly, even when you want to say there's going to be more problems, but like the Ghetto statue is alive sometimes. Just when Nagato summons it, it's just alive. When Madara summons it, it's not, which is weird. Now, you could infer that it's using Madara's life force. When Nagato summons it, it's like retained what it absorbed from Madara. The only issue with that is it was kind of the other way around. Madara was using its life force that it shouldn't have if it's dead in the first place. Doesn't really make... but it shouldn't have life force unless it has physical energy, which means it has physical energy, which is weird because
Well, it shouldn't be
dead.
dead, realistically speaking. It's almost like in a comatose state if it has its mental energy extracted.
Yeah, but the problem is if that's the case, well, there's going to be two problems. But one is, why is it just alive all of a sudden when Nagato summons it? In that case, it's before Nagato gave it chakra or life force through the rods. Now, the other issue would be, it's not really an issue because as far as I'm aware, all of the ghetto statue soul-sucking dragon mumbo jumbo doesn't happen until Nagato stabbed with the rods, which would mean it could just get that from Nagato. So your argument could have been, oh, the ghetto statue has spiritual energy, hence the clear spiritual energy attacks like the soul dragon. But if it got it from Nagato, that solves that problem. But the question is still, why is it alive with Nagato? That's just weird anyway.
I think asking a question just as blanket statement as that in the first place could already be wrong, because it all, like I was saying earlier, I think it just already is alive regardless if it's moving or not. I don't think it's sentient when it's moving. I don't think it's operating on instincts or has a will of its own or anything. I think it's just purely physical energy moving it in general. Which is weird, but I think that just is somehow whatever is happening.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I mean, you can say that. It feels like it's literally just the Ten Tails, like in the way it's acting and everything. But you can argue that it's just pure mindless energy.
Yeah, because the Ten
Tails.
Tails...
But granted, though, that's kind of how the Ten Tails was described in Naruto.
Yes.
It's Boruto where you start getting into the instinct shit. So that is another problem.
Yeah.
Where if we ignore Boruto, that might just be the Ten Tails without its rest of its chakra. Whereas in Boruto, then you could say what you just said. That's another consideration.
Yeah. So, okay. It's like 3 different ways to think about it, to where there's a yin side and a yang side, but then on one of the sides there's like the small circle within the half of the thing. So you have just like Jura, who just is a sentient divine tree, and then you have the Ten Tails, which is a being with a mind that's operating on instinct, which is like mindless, and then you have the opposite end of that, which is a being that just has no mind in the first place. So the Ten Tails has a mind, it just isn't able to utilize it in any way, really.
And if you're going to use Boruto knowledge, that is what I would go with, but in Naruto, you can't guarantee that's the thing. Now, I don't have a great segue into this, but I do want to mention this. So I asked earlier, like, in your theory here, is the physical energy coming from Hagoromo? There is an alternative explanation, and it's actually an interesting one that, honestly speaking, I remember writing this out a long time ago as a potential explanation for some of this. Some of the bullshit in Naruto with the Ten Tails. It's not, I'm just going to be saying this off the dome. I haven't really thought about this in a while, so it's probably not going to be the most well said, but as we know from the work, the Ten Tails is just nature energy. It's not chakra. It's pure nature energy.
Yeah.
So that's weird. First of all, using, and then again, you're going to need to ignore Boruto for this because that would mean that Ten Tails doesn't have a mind the way it does. But in Naruto, it's just nature energy. There's no chakra. However, somehow it has chakra, but this is weird. So the explanation would be, is actually the reverse of what you're saying. Hagoromo could have basically created the soul. It's some of the stuff that Obito says to Konan makes sense in this regard, that Hagoromo could create the souls of these beings, but the quote-unquote chakra, in this case, is actually that nature energy, which would then comprise the physical energy component. Now, I don't have a great segue into this, but if you remember our human sage mode stream, one of the things I brought up is like, well, first of all, why is there even a toad sage mode, snake sage mode, and so on? Why do you have to go to that place to seemingly learn it, blah, blah, blah? Well, one of the explanations is that toad the explanation we came up with, which I thought was a good one, is basically in Mount Myoboku, there's a bazillion toads, and they're basically just emitting toad energy as they do their daily life, pooping and all that jazz. And that's just why it's filled with toad energy that you can then absorb. In other words, the nature energy in the air is just going in a cycle in and out with the physical energy in everyone's bodies. And in a sense, they're the same thing. The only difference is there's way more energy in nature than in your single body. But as we see with Infinite Tsukuyomi, there's a fuck ton of physical energy in all life's bodies combined. Probably more than the nature energy at that point. So it's pretty even, is the long story short. And so, this would mean using nature energy from the Ten-Tails to turn into physical energy for the Tailpiece. It's basically the same thing. So that wouldn't be weird. In which case, you get the opposite of what you're saying. Hakuramo created the souls, and the physical energy is just the Ten-Tails' nature energy. So the opposite, essentially.
So, do you... Okay. So we're going to have to go to the nitty-gritty details on this part here.
Yes, we are.
So, do you think mental energy and spiritual energy are the exact same thing and just are using interchangeable words?
They are the exact same thing. They are just used interchangeably.
Okay. So, do you think the tailed beasts have a spirit? Like a soul?
Yes.
Why?
Several reasons. One, the Ninshu mind space bullshit doesn't really make much sense otherwise.
Well, no, that can make sense because they still have like a mental plane. They still have consciousness.
Yeah. Why would they have a mental plane if there's no mental energy?
No. So I'm saying, like, just as an example, I don't know if you can like even separate the two in your head. I have to think of an example now. Okay.
Spiritual, just using the word mental energy aside, they can mentally think. That doesn't make sense if they don't have mental energy.
No. Like, I know. No, that's not what I'm saying. So, in the Mitsuki retrieval arc, one of the questions was if these artificial humans have a soul. We know that they can think, and the end conclusion is that yes, they at least believe that they do. But you have to ask the question, despite the fact that we can see that they can think, implying that it's possible that they don't.
Well, in the case of like in all their cases, they're clones. I mean, we don't really know who the people they were cloned of or some of the other people, but like we know Ku and Mitsuki were clones of Onoki and Orochimaru. The question was, is their will their own unique will, or is it either something created or based off someone else, blah, blah, blah. The questions you get are like, is Kashin Koji's will Koji's or Hikara's?
Yeah.
So it's an example question.
Yeah.
So the answer is either way, yes, they would have a soul. The question is just, is it different from their original humans? But they would have a soul. In the case of the tailed beast, the question would be, do they have their own unique soul, or are they each 1/9 of the Ten-Tails' soul?
So that's what I'm getting at, exactly. Or at least that's the next part that I was going to get to. So which one of those do you think it is? Because we see with Naruto when he uses creation of all things for Kakashi's eye, he's not just manifesting it out of thin air. He is using a part of Kakashi to do that. We know that Hagoromo is separating part of the Ten-Tails from the Ten-Tails body to make the tailed beast. He's not just manifesting it out of nothingness, separate from the Ten-Tails without regard.
So, and as a side note, just a small side note, even if Hagoromo created the souls of the tailed beast, it wouldn't be out of nothing. He would still be using the chakra of the Ten-Tails as the energy to do that. Like, he'd still be making, an energy equation, matter and energy, it's not created or whatever, the law of matter thing. He'd be converting it. But the reason why I don't think it's just the Ten-Tails' soul split up 9 ways is because The Ten-Tails was so fucking mindless. It doesn't make sense that splitting it into 9 magically makes 9 fully sentient, smart beings with all these different personalities. It just kind of feels weird. Hakaromo definitely somehow added some smartness and other things to it because it's just weird otherwise. I mean, even as it is, the Ten-Tails doesn't have sand magnet style. It doesn't have a lava style. It doesn't like have.
Well, to be fair, it
things.
might have those. It just doesn't know how to use them.
Jura ain't using them.
He hasn't yet. He also hasn't had.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Oodie. You tell me what the percentage chance you think it is that Jura is just gonna start using sand or lava style. Let's honestly. How likely do you think that is?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm guessing that you're expecting a low percentage answer. I'd guess 50%. I don't know.
50.
Like,
okay,
why
that's
do you
high,
think it's
bro.
unlikely?
No way you think it's
why do you
50%.
think it's less than 50?
Because they fucking made Ryu a character. He's the sand guy. They're not just gonna have Jura.
Okay.
They're not gonna have Jura using sand unless he absorbs Ryu. I just don't think so.
He also hasn't been pushed yet. Like, I don't see why he wouldn't be able to have it, but whatever.
It's not that they couldn't write it so that he does have it. I don't think they're going to write it so that he has it.
Okay. Well, I mean, do you have anything that leads you in that direction, or is it just gut feeling?
Well, I already explained one thing. I don't think they would create Ryu. I don't think they would do some of the stuff they did.
Well, but that's like a negative.
I mean, like, they could make it a
positive.
revelation. Oh, Jura can already do all of these things. But then in that case, the next question is, are they writing it because, oh, the Ten-Tails absorbs everyone's chakra, so he just has the abilities of everyone who's been turned into a tree? Or are they going to use the, oh, he actually just has every ability anyway thing? Because even as it is, this Ten-Tails is different from the Naruto Ten-Tails. So we don't even have actual reason to necessarily say that this Ten-Tails can do Shukaku Saiyan style, just because the Naruto one, in theory, could have.
By the way. It's going to be the
really
same.
Don't need to harp on this anyway.
Yeah.
Getting back to ignoring Jura ability shit. What was before that?
Okay, well, just in general, I will say that you're going to have a problem no matter what the theory is, because in universe it already is a paradox with the Ten-Tails. I'm just coming up with my theory and the way that I think is the best way to explain it, because there is no best way to explain it. Well, there's probably a best way to explain it. There's no good way to explain it, regardless of the best way to explain it.
Yeah.
It's like, no matter what the theory is, you can pick holes into it. If the point isn't to pick holes into it, I mean, you can do that, but it's like, oh yeah, I like that part. Yeah, that part can work.
Yeah. So in any case, I do think Hakaromo added something, even ignoring abilities and whatnot. It's just the minds themselves are just mentally superior to the base Ten-Tails. Now, you could argue that's just Hakaromo adding sentience, so they're basically Jura, and that's all there is to it, but that it's still adding something at that point.
Yeah.
So he might not be in that case, he's not creating souls. What he's doing is his chakra, whatever, is just imbuing sentience. That is another possibility as well.
You could also make the argument that it's like the 9 souls were technically already separated beforehand for whatever reason somehow, and then they were coming together to make this amalgamation of a consciousness that's like all over the place, like a horror movie monster.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good for the Ten-Tails rewrite from the previous streams, but in series, I don't think that's what they're going for.
I agree. There's also...
So I'm thinking...
Yeah.
I mean, well, just starting with this, what are your thoughts on the idea that it is just both the body and soul split 9 ways, and in the process, whatever Hakaromo shenanigans, it simply added sentience to each part, and then in each case, they just got a different result. Similar to how, like, Mitsuki's different from Orochimaru. Like,
the only contention here would be the fact that the soul doesn't necessarily have to be the sum of its parts. And so it doesn't necessarily need to be 1/9 as smart as the Tin Tails to still be.
I'm not referring to smartness here, but what I'm saying
I
is
know,
that...
I know. If you don't want to use that word, fine. You can replace it with whatever substitute. Similar word.
The point is just that it split everything 9 ways, and then Hagoromo. It would actually be smarter because of the Hagoromo input of sentience would make it smarter.
Well, what I'm saying is that the
1/9 the energy.
I know. What I'm saying is the Hagoromo input of sentience isn't necessarily there, even if we think it likely is. I'm saying it's possible that it isn't because of the sum of its whole isn't necessarily equal as the argument there.
Well,
the sum of its parts.
Okay, but in this case, only one of its parts shouldn't be smarter than the whole 10 tails, all else being equal. Let me scroll. Why can't I scroll? God, shut up.
Well, how are you doing tonight, chat? Are you ready for Valentine's Day, chat? Specifically, Orochimaru PR and editing marketing resume, and I'm not that good, and Space, and Martin Silva. Okay, I love how Martin Silva is always the first person to say anything, and they only say sup and then nothing else ever.
That's funny.
Like, do they stick around? Or sometimes I say other stuff, but don't really care about that day. Ooh, Space is really, really ambivalent, aren't you, Space? It is a holiday, so someone is a big Naruto fan apparently. Israel Ladenzenia. I don't know who that is, but there you go. Walky Talky and Cloud should team up to contact him. Okay, let's look up who this guy is. Like a YouTuber. Oh,
can't use my American Viz account for the Japanese one. That's unfortunate.
I'm down to contact this guy.
Okay, might not be able to find this.
He's on Instagram. I'm a DM him. It does this X. Can I message him on this? No.
What?
This guy. What if I follow him? No. I'm gonna message him on Instagram, I guess. Yeah, he's got a Kiara profile picture. That's amazing. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I will message him later.
That's annoying. The website that I had for the Raws before, it just doesn't have a lot of the chapters now. It has some of them still, but like it doesn't have the chapters. Thank God I asked some of the questions I did in the past, because like good, I can't reference them ever again. But like,
well, they're at least on the podcast.
Chapters 20 to 80 just disappeared on this website. They're just not there anymore.
Cool to see you guys live. Keep up the vids. Thanks, I'm not that good. Noah Lyles is also a fan. Let's look up who Noah
wait, this
Lyles
might...
is.
Okay. Oh, come on.
And Machine Gun Kelly. I do know who that is.
Have some of this.
So I'm 2 for 3. 1 for 3? Well, depends how you look at it.
That's the Boruto Chibi manga. That's not what I want. Okay. What about this? It's the same thing. Shit. Come on.
Man, this guy's working for it. That's pretty cool.
Why do all these seem to have the same chapters or the not chapters that they don't have?
No post about Boruto, but I wouldn't expect him to. I'm just gonna take your word for it.
Oh wait, okay, let me bookmark this one.
What makes no sense is how Kaguya had a more peaceful adult Tin Tails, but people think the baby Tin Tail from Boruto is stronger. Oh, he's a powerful. We don't really know the difference in strength between those Ten Tails, to be fair. It could be weaker, or I mean, it could be stronger and younger. That's literally just what Kakashi tells Naruto in, like, chapter 6 or whatever. So. Don't see why it couldn't apply to the Ten Tails.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
It just looks weaker. But that could just be Ikimoto's art style, and that's where we get into problems.
It definitely doesn't look weaker, because it looks the exact same. Just hasn't done anything.
No, it doesn't, bro.
Well, what makes you say it looks weaker, like, visually?
It's fucking
How is he
not sharp
the
teeth.
Power? Okay.
Just look at them side by side. The Ten Tails in Naruto just looks more menacing art style.
The Ten Tails in Naruto looks goofy.
Still more menacing. Anyway,
here's a question for you. So, do you think the Ten Tails, when it was first revived, defaulted into stage 1 because it was too weak to start in a future stage? Or do you think, like, if it had all 9 tailed beasts, like, all of their chakra, and just throw in even 6-pad chakra, just randomly throw it all in, whatever you want to add, could it just start as a more evolved version of the Ten Tails? Or would it be able to evolve faster?
If I'm not mistaken, the 8 Tails, or at least implies, that it only evolved into the blob form because it wouldn't. And as we know, when Madara summons it later on, mind you, it's already turned to a divine train stuff. He summons it just as the humanoid Ten Tails. You know, when he does it, it doesn't start in the blob form or anything.
We don't really get a good look at it, but yeah, it is.
It's definitely, I mean, you could just look at the face. Like, it's definitely not the blob form.
Yeah. Which is very interesting. Okay, so when the tailed beasts, the individual separated tailed beasts that Hagoromo created, when they go back into the Ghetto Mazo, can they be fused back together, do you think? Or do they just stay separated inside of the body?
Does what stay? Wait, could what be fused back together?
The tailed beasts. Into, like, the soul of the Ten Tails or whatever.
So, repeat your question start to finish again.
Here, I'll just make it simpler. So, Minato used his jutsu to separate the Nine Tails into 2 different Nine Tails. Could you hypothetically recombine those 2 Nine Tails so you only have 1 Nine Tails rather than 2 different halves?
I think so.
And so,
because I mean, even as it is, it seemingly they did that, post work anyway. But I think he would just combine it, and then you pull out the Nine Tails. It'd probably just be 1 Nine Tails now. I don't think it would come out as 2 separates anymore once it's combined back together.
And so, by this, I mean in a way to where the 1 Nine Tails wouldn't then be able to, after the fact, re-separate itself back into the 2 different Nine Tails. So this is unlike the white and black Zetsu, who can combine into 1 Zetsu and separate into the 2 different halves of the Zetsu again.
Yeah, but even in that case, those are just 2 different entities in the first place.
Yeah, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I think it would just fuse together and stay fused together unless someone else, split it up. That's not to say that Kishimoto couldn't just do whatever he wants, but I think...
Well, what are you talking about? Because my question was, like, can that happen?
Can they be split up? Or...
No, can tailed beasts be recombined? Basically unbaking the cake, if you will.
Okay, so... I'm thinking... The problem is that in the case of Naruto and them, they wanted them to be separate. They wanted to pull them out separately.
But what if that wasn't the case?
Yeah, like what if they only want to pull out 3? Now, granted, though, I don't think they could in the first place due to the nature of how they were doing was like resonating the Biju chakra.
Well, they can pull out individual ones. Remember, Obito pulled out 1 from Jubi Madara.
Yeah, I know, but like that's like they're specifically resonating like those ones and all that jazz with the chakra that they have. But
yeah,
I don't know if in theory they could pull out a Fusion 3 or something.
Well, I'll also note that it's possible that all the tailed beasts were just inside of the Ten Tails, which just is the case. But that the Tin Tails didn't recombine them, whereas it possibly could have, maybe in time.
So, I mean, the way I think you would have to explain it, just to make it be the most consistent, is that the tail beasts just are inside the ghetto statue, meaning the chakra is now inside the ghetto statue.
Yeah.
Because there's chakra in the ghetto statue, it's the Ten Tails. And they're just in there. As far as the Ten Tails is concerned, that makes no difference. They don't need to be fused into one like baryon mode nonsense. It needs its chakra. Its chakra's in there, that's the end of it. But because they've already been split out once, they just exist as entities in there.
Yeah. Okay, so I think the best way to think about it is the Tin Tail. Okay, you know what? We're going back to the karma reference, just coincidentally. Okay, ignore the karma for this. So the Tin Tails, the tailed beasts, the 9-tailed beasts, are like sugar cubes, and the Ghetto Mazo is like a glass of water. And when you put the tailed beast in the Ghetto Mazo, the sugar cube disperses. But this is unlike if the sugar cube dissolved. So it's not sugar water, it's water with sugar equally spread out in it.
Yeah. Well, so like in this case, imagine so you would need like really cold water so that the sugar doesn't want to dissolve.
Yeah.
So you have like cold water and then you stir it real. Obviously, it's eventually going to settle down. But in the moment when it's all in the air, you stir it really fast. It's not dissolving because it's too cold. That water is what you would be referring to.
Exactly. And so you have the sugar water, which would be the Tin Tails before Hagoromo split it up. And then you would have the water with sugar in it, which is the Tin Tails after Hagoromo split it up and recombined all the tailed beasts. Or I guess I should say regathered all the tailed beasts. So either way, it's still fundamentally a different version, even if Obito got his way and got all the tailed beasts back inside of it.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah. And that's very interesting. Because, like, hypothetically, Obito could just yank out specifically the 5 tails if he wanted to. Hagoromo couldn't do that. He needed to first make the 5 tails in order to yank it out.
As a funny side note, I mean, so hypothetically, it doesn't really matter when in the war, just post 10 tails. Let's just say 10. Okay, let's just say when Obito's the 10 tails Shinchurikin, he's spitting out half the 10 tails to make it a divine tree anyway. Instead of making a divine tree, he spits out the 10 tails, and then he, like, takes out the 5 tails of that 10 tails. What happens? Does the rest of the 10 tails just stay 10 tails-y, or does it then turn into the other 4-tailed beast? So let's just say the first 4.
It does, because that's what happens with Madara. Obito yanks out one of the tailed beasts, and Madara just stays fine.
Well, he didn't take out all of Shukaku. He just took out part of Shukaku and the 8 tails. Just a small portion.
Like, again, he was fine. Compare that to Kaguya, who just had a Rasen Shuriken with the tailed beast chakra touch her, and she's like freaking imploding. It's so weird.
Yeah, that you got a point there. Like, sense. I feel like Madara should have been like morphing into the 10 tails or something.
Unstabilized or something. I don't know. Weird. Anyway.
Yeah,
like, if anything,
Kaguya is the 10 tails.
That's another thing, yeah.
Madara just absorbed it.
Is the 10 tails, and it happened to her, not Madara.
That's what's funny about it. Kaguya is the 10 tails, and that because of that, she's the one having trouble. Not Madara.
Oh my god. So I have a headcanon that you're probably not going to like, because you're going to find something wrong with it, but just don't look too far into it, and it's a really cool idea. Kaguya isn't a shinobi or whatever, so she can't, like, balance it, but Madara, he has, like, the perfect 80-20 combo of the 2 different tailed beast chakra things for, like, the tailed beast bomb or what. He's just doing that, like, inside his own body to where his body balances out whenever he loses that
I mean, a
portion
more
of
simple
Shugaku.
explanation could just be chakra control.
But I said it cooler.
Sure.
Since that basically
Now,
is what the Tailed Beast bomb is anyways.
the other explanation, so obviously as far as Madara is concerned, just like Obito, all he needs to do is absorb it and be able to control it. That just is the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of Kaguya, because she is the 10 tails, which the mindless being, it's kind of like Jugo's rages to where she's just turning into the mindless form, which is hard to, when she's mindless, it's hard to go back to mindful kind of thing. So it's like a different battle. It's kind of like Jugo's rages, basically, is what it would be like, which is a completely separate thing at that point. Would be the other explanation.
Actually, I just thought of a really good point. Kaguya has the 9-tailed beast inside of her, but Kaguya isn't using, like, sand or anything. That's basically the Jura analogy from earlier.
Well, to be fair, though, she also has the 10 tails inside of her, which doesn't have sand. So,
listen, it's a Matrushka doll at that point. Oh my god. Kaguya herself isn't even Kaguya. Weird. My
Kaguya
god.
is Black Zetsushi is Madara, she is a temp. Kaguya is everyone. That's a stream title right there.
Kaguya
I'm gonna write
is
that in
everyone.
pin messages.
Okay. I'm assuming you're doing that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I just think that's a good stream title
sure.
for some time.
I don't see the vision, but if you're down for it, I'll just blindly believe in it.
It's just funny. It's
Okay.
useless but funny.
Sure. No context. Anyways. So what's the next part of this with the souls of the Ten Tails and Tailed Beast and Hagoromo and Kaguya and Madara and all that? Or did we touch on all of that? I feel like there was something we
Let's
left
go
off.
back to your comment. So, if we're backtracking, the last thing I can think of is basically just, well, coming back to whether or not so backtracking probably a little bit further, you would have the question of, did Hagoromo take out the spiritual energy of the Ten Tails and then create the body / physical energy?
Yeah.
Or did he take out the physical energy and create the souls of the Bijum? With that, now this, I'm going to preface this by saying kind of a weird thing in the first place, but with the spiritual energy component, when Obito's explaining it to Konan, the spiritual energy, as Obito said, is what gave the form of the tailed beast. So if he creates the soul, that would create the form of like the fox and all that. So just keep that in mind.
Can you find the Naruto Zetsu tree explanation Yang energy thing? Because
I'll look for it.
even if you find it,
It's
I
gonna
will
be
say
very
they
hard
just
to find the specific page.
yeah,
but
they just
I'll
say
look.
multiple
I'll also find
things
the
as
Obito
well
thing.
in regards to this. Like Naruto has the negative emotion sensing to figure out which one is the Zetsu in the first place, so that's a thing. Naruto isn't hitting them with his 9-tailed chakra, he's hitting them with the Rasengan, which you can argue has 9-tailed chakra in it because he's NKCM.
Real quick, the Obito one, I knew where to look for that. So there's that if you ever need to reference it here.
What,
Okay, I'm just gonna
he can't use
look
Kamui thing?
for thing. Huh?
Oh,
No,
what
no,
is
no.
it?
This is the one about Obito explaining the physical and spiritual energy stuff. There's
Okay,
another
okay.
translation in the data book, but this is fine. It suffices for the point.
Yeah. So I will say, even if there's some minor nitpick specific detail in Naruto that makes this too convoluted or complex, I would just remove it for the sake of my rewrite being easy to think about. And I think that just is better.
If you want under
It's
that
a little
context,
bit more
but
into a rewrite than a theory, but there's no theory that works anyways. No matter what, I feel like the theory and rewrite is somewhat synonymous in this topic. But anyways. Well, let me know when you're good.
But you can keep going. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know where to find this, so I have to like.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Okay. So okay. The Ghetto Mazo moving on its own. It's possible that this is essentially, like you're saying, the Ten Tails is just nature energy. It's chakraless. Well, listen. Okay. First of all, the chakraless being just is a paradox, but we could get into that later. We've already got into it in the past, so we don't need to re-get into it. But
Exactly. If it's chakraless, it should be dead.
Well, do you think trees in Naruto have chakra? Normal trees.
I'm not sure, but in this case, it wouldn't matter because the point is the Tentails would have had chakra. I know it's a journey, but it would have had chakra, and we know that if you drain all chakra of living beings that we know of to zero, they die. So in the case of Tentails, it had chakra, all of it was drained, so the ghetto statue should be a dead body.
So
okay.
So what? So Shibai made the Ten Tails, and then he made it alive.
Well, we don't know if Shibai made the Tentails.
I'm just going with it until they tell me otherwise, and I don't think they will. Because where did it come from?
Okay, real quick. Well, if it comes from all, like, if all Utsuki become Tentails, hypothetically, then there you go. Like, so real quick.
So let me also present another thing to you. So the tailed beasts have physical form, but kinda not really. The Ten Tails just straight up does. So what if, whenever the Ten Tails has its chakra drained to zero, it's reincarnating like the other tailed beasts, but because it already has a physical form, all the chakra would just go back into the physical form, like, immediately. It doesn't have to reconstitute itself, because it's never destroyed in the first place. It just has its physical form already. Well, then the Ten Tails would have
just revived on its own pretty quickly, so it can't be immediately.
Not immediately, but you get the idea. Just to counteract that as an idea from earlier.
Well, it also makes Hakuroba's plan look really dumb. That the ghetto statue is just going to revive. It also makes the capture of the tail beast kind of pointless.
Well, to be fair,
the ghetto statue is just going to revive anyway.
To be fair, he sealed the Ghetto Mazo away, so, like, hypothetically, if he didn't, then maybe this would have been the case, and maybe this is why he sealed it away. Yeah,
which is fine, but I do think it kind of I mean, you can make it into retcons for, like, Obito Madara plans, but, like, it does cheapen the purpose of capturing the tail beast if technically all you gotta do is just wait. It's gonna revive on its own.
I agree.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say real quick. I think no Cam.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I knew this was you. I was gonna say the same thing like 20 seconds ago.
This is pretty
God, I wish I cut you off to say that just to prove it. Just gonna have to take my word for
it. That's funny.
God, what nonsense. I can't believe she did that. But anyways. Lots of people talking in the chat. Oh, even Gianix is here. Gianix hasn't been here a while. SC19, the water is Karama. Bro. And I mean, that's actually...
You didn't have to finish that one. You got the first letter. I know where that is.
I don't want to finish it.
We can just keep doing, like, I guess, random topics for the rest of the stream.
Well, the problem is this was the random topic, diverting away from the actual main topic, which we barely started.
Right.
You know, as you'd expect.
Okay, well, back to that, I guess.
Okay. So, where was it? Was it not Naruto topic?
Walking away, so just read to me things if you...
Oh, right. Okay. wood, and I'll go here. Where is it? What is this? Oh, this is general chat. How do I get here? Naruto topics. No. How do I search in specifically the correct route? What if I completely shut that down? The Naruto topics channel, whatever it is, right there. Can I type wood here? No. No, it doesn't work. I don't know how to get back to it, I'm gonna be honest. Probably just pull it up on stream if I need to. Okay, found it. If you walked away in a way that you could talk, then I can't hear you. But if you just
Oh, no,
away,
I can talk.
Okay, yes, you can. Okay. So, back to this. So, yeah, talking about the Ghetto Mazo, the Tin Tails, and all that. Okay. So, okay, here's the next part of it. Wood style is physical energy, or yang in this case, and it's the opposite of mental energy, which is yin, which is why it suppresses tailed beasts. And then I explain why, but first of all, do you agree with that?
No, because that's just not the explanation in series whatsoever.
There's not an explanation in series for why wood style does this.
Exactly. And it's only wood style. Other yang things just don't have this property whatsoever.
Well, we don't see other styles used to do it.
I guess, but even then, it doesn't seem like. I see no reason why yang release would be the reason why it's suppressing.
Well, why do you think it's wood style? Before we get into my
divine tree, divine tree absorbs chakra.
Yeah, what does that have to do with wood style?
The wood style just has some of that property.
Hashirama's wood style, he's not just using the divine tree, he's making his own wood. Same with Yamato.
Yeah, but it's basically just a watered down divine tree at the end of the day. It just absorbs chakra on his command.
I mean, it's not, though. Like, okay, then if we're saying that, why can the divine tree absorb chakra?
Oh, why can your Roy absorb chakra? It just is the case. There's no deeper thing with that.
Well, no, in that case, the commonality would be the wood. So then it gets back to why can wood and Naruto absorb chakra?
But that doesn't apply to Yoroi.
Okay, which is why I think that doesn't work in general.
But Yoroi could be using it from a yin aspect. It could be a spiritual energy jutsu versus yang release. I'll answer it right now. We don't know what it is, but
well, there you go. So it could be consistent.
You wouldn't be able to pinpoint it to yang based on because I mean that is equally likely.
Yoroi is something else entirely anyways. The question is, why does wood style absorb tailed beast chakra?
No, you asked just now, why can the divine tree absorb chakra? And I'm saying, who knows? It could be anything. It could be the same as Yoroi. Why can he? He just can. And there is nothing more to it.
I wasn't looking for an open-ended answer there, because the answer would be the singular commonality of wood style between the two.
No, because that's not necessarily
let me walk you through the thought process there. So we started with, why can wood style absorb chakra? You said it's basically a mini divine tree. Then my follow-up to that was, why can the divine tree absorb chakra? The only similarity between wood style and the divine tree is that it's made of wood. And so then it gets back to the first question, why can wood absorb chakra?
It's not the only similarity, for one thing, but second of all, that doesn't mean the wood is the reason. Still, that doesn't mean that is the reason.
It doesn't necessarily mean it, but based on the thought process, that's where it's leading to, obviously.
Yeah, but I just disagree with that in general. It's not necessarily the reason. You can't just say it is.
Okay. Let's go back to the original question. Why does wood in Naruto, what is your theory for why it absorbs tailed beast chakra?
Because the divine tree can do it. And it doesn't go deeper than that. The divine tree just can do it. And that's the end of it.
But Kamui, I'm not looking for an, I don't know, Yoroi can do it. I'm not looking for that. Why can the divine tree absorb chakra?
I don't know. But I don't think it's because it's yang release.
Then make something up. I know you don't know. I don't know either. That's why I made up yang release. What is your theory?
I don't have one.
Well, what do you think's most likely? Throw something out. Spitball is what we do all the time anyways.
Well, if you want most likely, there is no answer. Kishimoto just came up with that.
God.
The end.
Okay, well, I disagree that the wood style is like a mini divine tree that they're using, because they're just making it of the earth and the water around them, or they're making their own earth and water.
Well, they're not. It's inconsistent, but regardless of that aspect, the original answer is just because Kishimoto wanted Yamato to be able to suppress Naruto. That's the start. He's not doing it because of anything specific. It just Woodstone can do it at the end. That's the answer. And then Divine Tree can do it. I'm just adding the step to say retroactively it's a power stemming from the Divine Tree. And that's why Woodstone can do this in general. But that is just the end of it. I don't have a deeper reason.
That's not an in-universe explanation of what I'm looking for. I understand the writing reason of why.
Yeah, well, in-universe, I think you can do the Divine Tree, but beyond that, I think there's just...
But the Divine Tree doesn't work. Like, Omnipotence would have to, like, create this as a concept in general.
Well, it might have, we don't know.
I mean, is that what you're going with? Because that's fine. Because
I think that's what they're going with.
Just
I think
because
it's just that the
a divine tree,
a divine tree just devour. Stop, doggy. The divine tree and Ten Tails just devour things. It's in the whole shtick for their concept is devour.
I mean, that's fine, but unless you're gonna say that Woodstyle is devouring the chakra, which I don't think it's ever been described like that. I think
it's doing whatever the divine tree is doing. No, it's not just suppressing; it can absorb.
Yeah, that as well. But I don't think it's ever been described as devouring.
Well, because that term wasn't created until Boruto.
Okay, so you think it is devouring the chakra, Woodstyle.
If you want to say that's what what the divine tree is doing, then yes.
Okay.
Doing the same thing.
Sure.
Just on a smaller scale.
Well, I would disagree, but that's okay. Since neither of us would know. Okay. So... yeah, so this is what I think, is that Woodstyle is physical energy, or yang, which is the opposite of mental energy, which is yin, which is why it suppresses Tailed Beast Chakra. It's foreshadowing, it foreshadows the Ten Tails, which is also going back to your thing, by the way, going back to, it's the Divine Tree, which is the Divine Tree, which is wood. The tailed beasts being suppressed are essentially the tailed beasts being acclimated or assimilated or absorbed into the body of the wood, which is the yang. Which is basically stating what you're saying.
But again, coming back to Hashirama, I was saying it should be the case that Hashirama's yang is what makes its wood style what it is. But it's not actually the case. Like, that's just not an actual thing in series. You can argue there's hints, but it isn't really there. Never discussed.
I mean, wood style absolutely does this to Tailed Beast Chakra, though.
Well, it doesn't to all chakra. It's not doing its two-tailed beast specifically.
I mean, that's fine, but it's specifically used for tailed beasts.
Well, it's used for everything. It's just that it's a great way to counter tailed beasts.
It can be used for everything. It's specifically used for tailed beasts.
No, it's not. Okay, it was specifically used on Kisame, for example. Is he a tailed beast? No, he's a tailless tailed beast. He's a tailless tailed beast. Yeah.
But Kamui, just because there's exceptions to the rules doesn't mean the rule doesn't exist.
It's not used for tailed beasts. It's that the woodstyle users are used for tailed beasts because they're the only ones that are good against the tailed beasts.
Exactly.
But it's used for everything.
I agree.
It's just that they will be specifically chosen to fight a tailed beast.
I agree.
Because they're good.
Yes. Which means more often than not. But that's, again, being extremely nitpicky, pedantic on details that we don't need to talk about.
Yes.
Not an
Anyway,
argument.
so coming back to Yang, blah blah blah. My thing is that it's like I think the Hashirama's wood should have Yang release imbued into it, and that matters. But like, because again, especially since they're having freaking Naruto's Yang KCM cloak affecting Yamato's wood and all that jazz. But even that would imply Yamato's wood doesn't have the Yang release Hashirama's has. But as we know, Yamato's wood can do all the absorbing and suppressing of chakra shenanigans, just on a weaker scale. So clearly it's not the Yang release that's so important about it.
Well, I will say, just because the Divine Tree absorbs chakra doesn't mean that all wood styles should be able to. Like, that logic doesn't follow.
Okay, but all wood style we've seen can, so...
I agree. Which is how we get to why.
But again, though, all wood style just comes from Hashirama, who's just got, like,
and Yamato.
Pseudo-Divine Tree power, so...
Well, he absolutely doesn't. He just has wood style. Like, again, Hashirama's not connected to the wood style, or the Divine Tree in any way. He's just making earth and water style combined Kekka Genkai.
Yeah, but he's doing it in a way that just so happens to be... I mean, see, the problem... It's why... Why is this wood style literally the Divine Tree? Like, you know, like... Madara's freaking using Hashirama's jutsu for the infinite Tsukuyomi shit.
Well, I don't think it's just his. I think it's anyone's, and yes, everyone who has wood style has Hashirama styles, except for Moegi randomly. But I think just all wood style has this property. It's not a Hashirama thing.
Well, you know, here's the problem. We gotta see fucking Moeki's wood style. Oh, wait, we're never gonna get to see it. You know, we know but Moeki's penetration jutsu, but like, God forbid we see her wood style. And the problem is, anything she does with wood style as Matsuri, we can kind of throw out the window because Hidari can do it when Sasuke has absolutely no wood style.
Yeah.
So you can't even point to anything Matsuri does as Moeki's wood style because she's a Divine Tree anyway.
Kamui, I'm glad you say that. I'm glad you say that. I'm going to use your own argument against you. Hidari doesn't have Ten Tails chakra or Divine Tree chakra or anything. He only has Sasuke chakra.
He has the bug. Yes. Okay. Yes.
But he's using wood style to absorb Sarada.
You know what? I'll give you this. I love that as a reason for your argument.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
I do not think that is at all what Ikimoto is going for. And this is also supposed to be ignoring Boruto in the first place. But I am very proud of what you did there.
Thank you.
And I'm okay with accepting it.
Okay. Cool. Now, I'll even make a counter argument against it. He never finished, so what if he just didn't realize that he can't actually do it?
What if it wouldn't work?
Yeah.
just can't devour. The only way to devour is if he literally eats her, like, with his mouth.
Yeah. That's actually hilarious.
I wish I said that now.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That is hilarious.
Okay, so continuing, and this is also addressing other things you were saying technically, coincidentally, so, this is me reading it, or it disrupts the purity of the purely mental energy of the tailed beasts, almost like poisoning them, or diluting their focus, which can explain the wooden deity gates, in reference to they, like, make the user will to fight non-existent, and, also sealing, which is, I think, Yang style. Sealing jutsu in general.
Sealing isn't anything in particular. It could be either or. That said, so it's weird because it feels like in most cases, sealing jutsu either is Ian release or it should be. But then you get to, like, the adamantine chains. I'm going to use this as an example for why it makes no sense. So... By all rights, the adamantine chains should be yin because they are this chakra thing that just poofs out of nowhere that has a very specific form, chains. It's very spiritual and soul-like and magical and all that jazz to be a yin release technique. And Kushina has yin release, by the way. She does have it. So she could, in theory, do it. But what are the Uzumaki known for? Yang release, life force. It's a special Uzumaki ability that only the best of the Uzumaki clan known for their Yang release have. If it's an Uzumaki clan thing, it should be Yang release. But by all rights, the ability itself, ignoring that, should be yin release. You could argue it's yin yang release. It's not. So, yeah. Then you run into that conundrum.
Okay, so do we know what the deity gates are? Because we know they're made out of wood, obviously, but I don't think that necessarily means they are wood style. For example, I don't think the adamantium chains are metal style.
Well, the adamantine chains are just like a chakra. Yeah, it's
exactly.
So
that's a bad example, but you get the idea.
Specifies. I don't think it's gonna say this is. In most cases, they never say this is the yin release technique. This is the yang release technique. You kind of just have to infer if it's either or, if any at all, based off what you know. If it's an elemental transformation thing, just ignore it. It's not going to be either.
Yeah.
I can't remember what this was called in the data books. I remember we found this on one stream. Oh God, I don't remember what these are called. Well, let's just skim through things.
I will quickly note, and this is in the comments first tab, but I'm never going to be able to find it right now, that, do you remember the Orochimaru 5-pronged seal, the weird nature elements that aren't the Naruto ones?
Yeah, metal style and whatever.
Yeah, so that just is the Chinese elements on the alchemist periodic table or whatever, like the ones they use over there, whereas we use different ones, so...
Oh.
That was just us foreigners being ignorant, idiot, stupid heads, and I went along with it for your nonsense of the bit, and now I was dragged out, and I knew the whole time. Pit in my gut, sinking feeling, there is an obvious explanation to this that I'm just not thinking of right now, and that was easily it. Ugh, I'm disgusted in myself.
Well, to be fair, I assume there's an obvious explanation. I just didn't know what the Chinese elements were. Just didn't know what the answer is.
That's fair. Oh, also, this should go without saying, but Six brought it up on his stream, so I'm going to bring it up as well, is that in the Japanese schooling system, they just have 3 exams a year. So when Naruto failed his exams 3 times, there you go.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Like, it just makes sense if I'm being honest. We kind of have the same thing over here anyways, but...
Yeah, exactly. Okay, where the hell is Hashirama deity gates Naruto data? I remember we found this shit, but like, where was it?
Why don't I just look it up on Google? Oh, you got it.
I don't know why I couldn't find this.
Okay, can you put it in
the
data
data book? Yeah, I'm just gonna copy and paste this. I found an image. This is gonna be good enough. Okay. I'll see if it says anything to indicate
Senjutsu,
I mean, realistically, I mean, it's not going to be yin release. Like, you can already just rule that one out. It's either yang release or it's just not either. But it's a sage technique in the first place. But
yeah. But that's weird because you can do it out of sage mode.
He never does it out of... Well,
Naruto does.
I'm not counting Naruto's thing, because we don't even know what Naruto did. I mean, it wasn't... See, that's what's stupid. See, I mean, isn't it an Ashura technique? Like, what is it? Because it's like, Naruto just kind of does it in the Naruto Kurama mind space randomly. But you can't do this jutsu.
I don't know. I mean, this makes me think this is like the first time he's using it, or at least the data book is describing specifically this instance only, because it's saying it's a technique that pins the head down and seals its movements. Like, why is it wording that if it's just meant to be in general? It then goes on to say, in contrast with the ordinary gait of the great god that binds the body and the tails. Who else would he be fighting to bind down the tails of with the deity gates, if not the 10 tails. Like, it's got to be referencing this specific instance, which is really weird.
I mean, it doesn't seem like he ever used it before then, but like, unless he used it on the Ninetales at some random point.
I mean, I'm sure he used it in countless fights. I don't know, freaking using it against Kakuzu.
Yeah, he used it against Edo Madara, so he could have just used it against Kakuzu.
Yeah, just using like the 0th Great Shinobi War or something, freaking Warring States era. I don't know.
But anyway, if you were to assume this is Yang release, it's interesting that it seals the will, aka this. It's in this case, I'll help your argument in a couple of ways here. You could say like if this is a Yang release seal, because Ashura shenanigans and whatever. Since we know that this seals the will of the fighter, that would be like the spiritual energy aspect of the fighter is what's specifically sealed, besides literal movement restriction.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, that is giving precedence to at least Ashura, Hashirama, Wood style type Yang stuff, having the ability to seal spiritual energy. Now, something you could do, now I'll counter this after, is say, when it comes to like tail beasts and stuff, that the Yang release in the Wood style is essentially looking for spiritual energy to balance itself out. So kind of like the Madara theory that, the Tentos wants its chakra back. It's basically looking for what's missing. There's a better example that I'm just not thinking of, but that's okay.
So I found
in which
two
case
things.
It would just absorb spiritual energy out of people to balance itself out. My only problem with that is I feel like Hashirama's wood should become like extra alive after or something to indicate it's complete, which it never does. So that's a little bit weird there, but that would probably be the explanation, is it's trying to balance itself out, basically.
So I found two things. One that absolutely confirms what I said, and the other that entirely debunks it. So that's interesting. So I'll go with the confirmed thing first. So in reference to like...
Yeah, what is the thing you said they were referring to in the first place?
It's just this theory about the thing in general, what you're talking about as well, that is confirming my theory.
Okay.
Yeah, so in reference to the deity gate around the Tintails' head, so one of the things on it has its will of opposing sealed in opposition with a sealing jutsu. And that's just a fancy schmancy way to say what I said.
That's what I was just saying.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah. So to entirely debunk everything that I just said, so the thing on the head that comes in contact with the Tintails' head, it pours natural energy into it. It blocks the will of opposing.
Well,
so
is it saying it pours natural energy into the target or into the seal?
It pours natural energy. Comes into contact with the head. Okay. Keeping the gate of the great god that comes in contact with the head, it pours natural energy into it. It blocks the will of opposing. I don't know.
Say the quote again. Say the quote again.
So I will say gate of the great god is in quotes. That's probably just the deity gates, is what they're meaning there. So
yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say it like this. Keeping the deity gate that comes in contact with the head, it pours natural energy into it.
Okay, hold on. I actually gotta pull this up on my phone. I gotta see this.
I think it's the deity gate pouring natural energy into the Tintails. It's gotta be, yeah.
You mean that comes in?
Amazing.
Okay, so seal 10 is the one that comes in the seal head. That's the this one.
But keep in mind, so the deity gate is pouring natural energy into the Tintails, which consists of insurmountable natural energy in order to suppress it.
Yeah, it's gotta be the seal that's referring to here. But keeping is a weird word at the beginning. But
yeah.
So the nature energy blocks its will of a. I mean, okay, here's the goofy interpretation. You know, with nature energy, there's the whole sitting still thing. It's
Uh-huh.
the nature energy is making the target want to stay still, like nature.
But Kamui, it is nature energy.
Yeah.
So
So shouldn't the Tentacles already want to do that?
maybe the Ten-Tails just has so much nature energy, it just wants to burn it off. So staying still is the last thing it wants to do. It's like a kid when you give it too much sugar.
It's almost like the Tentacles' nature energy is like Jugo's rages, like in Naruto at least. Like they're like the similar idea.
Yeah. I think that is what they're going for in reference to that.
Yeah, like to it, so like Jugo's clan probably has somehow the Tentacles-y Keke Genkai like thing to where they just kind of turn into the Tentacles basically.
Well, I don't think they turn into
like,
the
all his
Ten-Tails,
abilities
like,
are like the Tentacles with the shape transformations and all that jazz. So
yeah. It's so weird. Like it feels like it isn't even a sealing jutsu. It just functions as one. It just happens to do so. If that's the case.
well, it is labeled as a sealing jutsu. It's just a mental seal. Seals your will.
It doesn't make sense. Hashirama... Madara's will just wasn't sealed. I don't care what anyone says. It doesn't make sense.
I agree. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Okay. So, moving on to the next part of this. While I'm pulling it up, can you find the data book for the Bringer of Darkness jutsu? Or the Infinite Darkness? Whatever Topirama's jutsu is called. In whichever translation.
In a few minutes, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Well, actually, I can do it on my phone and just take a screen.
Because, yeah, you can just say it off the top of your head right now as well. Which one is Tobirama? Because Hashirama is the opposite of Tobirama. And arguably both.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like yin or yang style, which one does Tobirama have?
They both have both yin and yang, I believe.
I thought one had one and the other had the other, but then in the anime, one of them is both. Which doesn't make sense. They could both have.
Well,
what's sensory jutsu? Which one is that?
As far as the Infinite Darkness jutsu goes, the manga and anime just change who uses it.
Yes.
But they both have both the yin and yang, I believe. If not, then Hashirama only has yang, while Tobirama has yin. I'll double check, but I think they just both have both.
Okay. Because that also plays into it if Hashirama just has yang and not yin.
Well, he has to. I mean, technically speaking, he has to have both because of the manga. He uses both.
Yeah.
Never mind Tobirama. Like,
is healing
that's
yang?
just a retcon. It should be. It's never specified, but it should be yang.
Is sensory style, not style, but it's just sensing yang or yin?
I don't think it's... Well...
I think it is, because I think Tobirama, when he senses something, he says it's either yin or yang. But then Hashirama is able to sense as well, Black Zetsu. But I don't know if that was sensory chakra thing, or if that just was him using intuition.
I'm very curious what you're referring to about the Tobirama statement, but... So I'm going to say two things. One, I don't think it is either, but I will say this. Coincidence or not, most of the sensory users that we actually know have yang release, like Nagato, Karin, Tobirama. They're coming from these yang specialist people.
Mm-hmm.
There are some exceptions though. Ino and the Yamanaka clan, those are yin specialists.
Yeah,
and they're very good at sensing. So I don't think it is either. Okay. It just is a thing. You just can't sense.
And Shoji's expansion jutsu's yang. I think Shikamaru's shadow possession is yang.
No, yin. His is yin. I mean, that was the easiest to remember.
Just know,
shadow is shadow style.
Just know, I'm not absorbing a single thing in terms of which one is which. Like, you already know this. But I will not remember a single one of which one is yin or yang. Just know.
I've noticed.
Okay, good. It's not gonna change. Just so you know. I know it's one or the other, to be I at least got that much. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna restart this because I don't remember where I left off. So, it disrupts the purity of the purely mental energy of the tailed beasts, almost like poisoning them or diluting their focus, which can explain the wooden deity gates and ceiling style, whatever that is. In general, not only physically binding, but also removing the will to fight, especially considering normal wood style breathes life into it. You know how like wood style is described to be like that? Like Yamato's wood style is like alive and all that as life breathed into it or whatever. So wood style in general.
Yamato's wasn't until Naruto had something to say about it.
No, I'm pretty sure when Yamato like is like pretty much first introduced with wood style. He's when he's describing wood style, he says something about life in it.
When in the Tenchi Bridge arc?
Yeah.
Okay, now you gotta find that for me because I'm curious what you're referring to.
I have no idea where it would be at, and I don't even. I What chapter is it?
I mean, start with like 283 or something. Be around his introduction, maybe.
Okay, let's see if I can find the manga.
Just search Naruto colored manga, like the first thing that comes up.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, chat. You're going back to picture mode. Hopefully, I remember to change it back. Yeah, so that's at least the first chapter of it. Probably gonna be a couple chapters later, because even once Yamato's introduced, I doubt they're gonna like show the wood style, or at least not explain it at first.
Yeah, like when it first happens, I think they just feed us the 4-pillar prison jutsu, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's Okage has," and then he doesn't say anything.
Yeah. I'm pretty
That's
sure
why-
he explains it like when he's making the hut for them to sleep in the night before.
And how much of that's anime only?
That's a good point as well. But I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, he's making leaves on it. He's doing it like a freaking dragon head. He's gonna throw them all in the cage. Wood style ninjutsu. Okay, here we go. Is this it? At least they're talking about. Let's see if it is. A secret jutsu known only to the first Hokage. So how does Commander Yamato know it? Who is he? Okay. Okay, so not here, I don't think.
What chapter were you just on?
This was chapter. Oh, freaking Kohada's there. Found Kohada.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, I'm going to 287.
Yeah, that's where I'm on, and he's in the hut now. They're talking about sorcery. Okay, and then
I could be wrong with where it is, but it could also be when Yamato might be stealing the Four Tails, maybe, or when he's
what I was
told
originally
why
thinking.
he's going on the mission in the first place.
Okay, it's not when they're in the hut. I'm gonna look for when the seal happens, because that's what I was originally thinking.
I'm gonna look up on Google if I can find stuff. That's not helpful.
I think Sakura asks him, "Can you
know
teach me that jutsu?" And he says, "No, first Hokage shenanigans."
Well, he was suppressing Kisame's chakra with this Moku tone. Not what I was looking for, but
Yeah, he's not explaining what you're looking for here. Just first Hokage cells. The necklace responds to Naruto's chakra, blah blah blah. Yeah, not what you're looking for.
yeah. I found the same scan you did earlier with the KCM thing.
Oh,
Google is not helpful.
okay. Let's backtrack. What were we saying before that?
Hang on, is it this? No. Okay. Right. Okay, so backtracking. So normal wood style breathes life into it, so I'll just continue on from there.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily true. But
I think it is true. I just can't find it right now. At the very least,
of life in Yamato's wood, though.
At the very least, it seems like Yamato's like making trees and stuff that are alive. Like it feels like he's making living wood.
I disagree. I disagree. Hashirama's making trees that are alive, but Yamato's making trees that's like construction wood. He's not making trees in the first place. Making like construction wood. Like houses aren't alive.
Okay. Well, I don't mean that everything is it, but whatever. Does Hashirama have Yang?
That's why I said the thing I said earlier about Hashirama, to where I think Hashirama should have Yang release, because his are alive. I think the statement you're referring to is actually. This is what I think you're referring to. I think it's from one of the Anbu guys watching the Edo Hokage Royale fight in Orochimaru's invasion, where I think they say something about Hashirama breathing life into the trees or whatever.
Well, let's see if
So
I
I
can find
think
that.
you're referring. If assuming that is a thing there, I think it might be.
It sounds right to me.
Yeah. Which again comes back to Hashirama, not Yamato, but that's why I think Hashirama's should have Yang released as a specific special thing in his wood style, but it's never addressed that that's the case.
I do think it would still be the same though, even if you disagree.
But with Yamato's,
yeah, I think he could just do the same thing.
I don't think he can. I think the argument would just be his is so little that it's negligible. Like even if it's technically there to some extent, it's just not there enough to make it lively.
So Narutopedia says, at its simplest, wood release allows user to create wood, essentially converting their chakra into a source of life.
Okay, but I'm not using Narutopedia because that sounds like it's taking the Anbu statement I was referring to. But like again, Yamato's wood style ain't alive, bro. It's just not.
Well, again, Hashirama is shown using wood style on wood that isn't alive either. So I think he could just do both. Well, for example, when he's fighting
the Buddha statue.
That as well, but when he's fighting against Hiruzen as well. Like it's obviously
those trees. No, those trees are the ones they were specifically commenting on being alive.
Oh, that's funny. Well, they have zero vegetation.
So those are the most alive trees we get.
Well, that's not helpful. Okay. Where they say breathe? Nope.
I think they say they breathe. I'll look for it.
Something about breathing life. Yeah, that's the only reference of life on here. So, I mean, at the very least, Hashirama's wood doesn't look dead. It's bendy and it adds a bright color to it.
That's what I'm saying. Hashirama's wood looks very lively, but Yamato's just looks like construction. Here we go. I found it. I'll take a screenshot for you.
You can say Yamato's looks destruction. Yamato's wood doesn't look dead either, to be fair.
Construction wood isn't alive. You know, it's a simple understanding of that. So if it looks like construction wood, then it looks like dead wood.
So what about this? If you look at my screen.
Okay, well, I posted in chat the thing that I think you were referring to,
Okay,
and you're
look
not
at my
sharing your screen.
Yeah, okay, I'll just send a screenshot. Because I'm sorry, Kamui, but so that's
What is this scene from?
I don't know.
Well, it's important because we need to know if these leaves were already there and that's just other wood style he's got behind him, or if he made the wood style with these trees. Like, we definitely need to know that context, as well as if it's anime only. But I'm fine with it being anime only. We just pretend it's whatever. But like, we do need to see him form it to know. Like, we need to see the full scene.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to reverse image search it.
Okay.
That was ridiculous. I don't even think this is going to tell me which episode, but we'll see. It'd be hilarious if it does.
Yeah, it all depends on the context of where this was posted.
Doesn't look like it. I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm looking at. These are the only two search results, and I don't think there's going to be.
Well, one of those numbers could be an episode number. 138, 197, 113. Let's see if any of those feel like reasonable spots.
I don't even see what numbers you're looking at.
Move your cursor to the left. Up. Left. Up.
Ah. Okay. I really doubt it, but
113, the serpent's pupil. I'm thinking not. 138, demise, Itachi's death. I mean, Yamato uses wood style, but it's definitely not the Toby fight that we're looking at.
it could also be
197.
explained in that
sixth
Orochimaru
Hokage
Yamato
does it.
encounter on the bridge.
I mean, it's possible that this is like when they're doing their simulation or something, but I don't know when this. Yeah, I don't know when this is. This could be any moment of Yamato doing whatever.
But I will say,
This could
I'm
also be
very
when he's
confident he
demonstrating
can
wood
do
style
this.
to Naruto in the Hidane Kakuzu arc. I don't know.
Like, keep in mind, like, it's just the combination of earth and water style. And bro's making freaking glass and buildings and stuff. Like, he unironically has a more advanced version of wood release than Hashirama does.
In his own way, yeah. Like,
it's similar to Boruto with the Rasengan. Yeah, Naruto's is more powerful, but Boruto's is just more advanced in ways. Like,
yeah, Yamato refined the wood style in a much more advanced applications, but like Hashirama in terms of battle just has more hacks and power behind the stuff he can do with it.
yeah. Oh, this is interesting. It's so wood style is in fact not known to have naturally occurred in anyone else, with the exception of the Tin Tails.
It's funny, he doesn't mention Moegi, but then again, we don't even know if Moegi's is natural.
Yeah. But does the Tin Tails have wood style, or can it just control wood in general?
I mean, its body is like wood. It's freaking shooting its body at everyone, and it just is
exactly.
Wood spikes,
but
so.
like, Kamui, we don't have a skin style. That's not how that works.
Yeah, I'm not sure with that one.
It's commonly used as the snake hand seal. Well, chat, if any of you know which episode this is from, feel free to let us know.
All right, well, let's just go back to whatever is before that in our conversation.
What will appear first, Boruto anime or Dragon Ball Super anime? I'm gonna go with. That's actually a good question. I'm not sure. I hope the Boruto anime. Dragon Ball Daima's here, so I'm gonna say Boruto, just for like fairness. There's also like a bajillion wood style techniques that
I
probably
know.
show something.
Wait, go back for a second. At the bottom, would release stocks. What is that? So go up like just a couple more above transformation. Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Okay.
there you go.
They have metal restraints. Yes, metal style.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what I will say, Kamui, let's just say hypothetically this is dead wood. So the wood is still absorbing Kisame's chakra, despite not having yang style or life breathed into it or what. So it is just wood that does this for some
Yeah,
reason.
so that's what I'm saying. So that would debunk the yang release being what's absorbing the chakra. Like I said, it's just the wood for whatever reason can do it. And if you were going to give a reason, my reason would be because divine tree can do it, and that's also wood. And that's just where that comes from. And then why can the divine tree do it? Who knows? But that's why I said that earlier.
No, I know. But obviously that's not an answer.
But like if your argument's yang release, I'm just kind of like iffy about Yamato because they're going out of their way. Like if he has it, it's clearly not that much compared to Hashirama because they're going out of their way to emphasize, oh no, the yang release life energy of your KCM is making my trees come alive.
I'm confident there's a wood style that has leaves on it somewhere by Yamato. One of these somewhere. What is all his suffering? That's the Buddha statue thing. Anyways, we can move away from this for now. But I
Yes,
will
but back
say
to
again,
whatever
this thing or whatever with the Kisame stocks thing. I was like saying if that's the case, then that I do think it does is still the same. So I don't think it's that.
like I said, based off what we see, I don't think Yamato's Woodstone's got much, if any, yang release aspect. Max, do you want to go outside? I heard you barking from the basement like an idiot. No, you're gonna go outside and bark at some whatever nonsense squirrel you see and piss off the whole neighborhood. Go for it.
God. Well, to be
Never
fair,
mind,
Kamui,
come
if
back
it
in.
doesn't have much, then it has enough to absorb. Might not have as much as Hashirama, but it just can't absorb as much as Hashirama's. So it makes sense. It just scales. The wood release was also equally famous for its power to manipulate, suppress, and or absorb a target's chakra. Hashirama's mastery of this ability earning him recognition as one of the few people able to fully control a tailed beast. This would be done by ensnaring a target with the wood release, and upon such physical contact, would then control the chakra until they were finally too weak to escape. Ashrama's usage of this skill let him subdue many of the tailed beasts, keeping them under his control, and allowed him to distribute several to the early hidden villages. Okay, that did not help. They list the pages, but that's not helpful either. Yeah. What is this?
What did you say? Sorry, I kind of got distracted.
That's okay. So finishing off this thing now. Where were we? Where were we? Okay, we talked about Kabuto's cave style thing. So you said inorganic reanimation was we don't know if it's yin or yang. It's not listed.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, just to Sage Jutsu. Uh, This is also why the tailed beast bomb breaks when a deity gate stops Kurama. The ratio is being messed up with a new different outside influence of chakra. Or not, I don't know. This is similar to the explanation of Naruto being angry disrupts his mental energy, which allows Kurama's chakra to leak out, which is a theory that we've talked about in the past, and you did like that one. Thoughts?
Say it again.
This would be why the tailed beast bomb breaks when a deity gate lands on Kurama. The ratio is being messed up with a new, different outside influence of chakra.
Well, you could also just argue if it's a deity gate, just Kurama's will just went away.
It clearly didn't.
I don't. Deity gates make no sense. I don't tell you.
I mean, it clearly didn't. But I like it as an idea. But then Madara has enough chakra control in order to not be disrupted when he has his unbalancing when Obito drags his tailed beast thing out.
What?
Anyways.
Oh, you're talking about when he pulls out some of the chakra.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me. Considering it's such a delicate control of balance that if it becomes so disrupted that it would be basically impossible to control. It's like if you're... let's say you're on stilts and then an earthquake happens. I don't care how good your balance is, it's impossible to stay up in that regard.
I mean, as far as the tail beast bomb thing goes, sure, whatever. As far as the Madara Tintel Jinchuriki thing goes, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I don't think Madara was ever in any capacity danger, had to do literally anything. Obito just took some of his chakra, that was the end of it. He was never gonna have a problem from that. Even if Madara did it to Obito, they were just gonna be fine. It's less chakra control.
I mean, Kanya didn't freaked out.
Kaguya's thing's different though. Because she is the 10 tails and she's turning into it, and it's weird.
Which is why it's even crazier.
But it's also she is the mind. It's just it's weird regardless.
Well, yeah,
it's not
you're saying but as if that doesn't make it even crazier.
Okay, it's crazy, yes.
You're only amplifying my stance. I mean, you were agreeing with me anyways earlier.
But in Madara's case, he's just controlling the chakra. If you take away the chakra, you're literally making his job easier. Not better.
Okay. Well, anyways, that's all the wood style stuff. So, hopefully you understand my stance on wood style now. Which brings us back to now that you understand my stance on wood style, you now understand my stance on the spirit weapons of the Ghetto Mazo. And that concludes the trilogy of the Ten Tails rewrite. Considering the Ten Tails is wood.
I still don't like certain aspects of the spirit weapons thing you said, but I like the idea of yang release mattering with wood style, and I think with your stupid Hidari thing, you can just make the argument that it is
Yeah,
that matters.
Okay.
But with all that being said,
Mhm.
still coming back to the spirit weapons, and I still have my problems.
Whatever. Okay, so when I was clipping up one of the previous streams, I realized that I just didn't realize something you said. Because I was saying that I wanted the 1,000-arm Buddha statue to be Shibai's 10 tails, and you're like, oh, well, we were going with Kaguya's 10 tails. And I was like, oh yeah, if we do that, then it doesn't make sense, the thing that I was thinking of. Turns out it just makes sense if it's Shibai's 10 tails.
Well, it can, but only with Boruto.
I think this was in reference to, oh, well, Oodie, do you just want the Ten Tails to have 1,000 arms wrapped around it in the war arc? That's too OP. Madara would just body Hashirama. Well, in this case, it's just a different Ten Tails.
I'm confused by your quote. You're either quoting something wrong or Saran said something that you're quoting.
Well, I'm not quoting it word for word, but that doesn't make the quote wrong.
What did you say again?
So, this was when Sauron was on, to be fair, which is probably why you're thinking that.
But yeah,
so you were saying that the Ten Tails in the war arc shouldn't have the 1,000 arms because otherwise Madara would just body Hashirama with the Ten Tails.
See, that doesn't even make sense. I never said definitely that last word.
I mean, not word for word, but said the meaning almost word for word.
No, I never even discussed Madara using the Ten Tails against Hashirama. So I don't know if Saran said that.
I mean,
but
maybe you forgot it, but at least it's on stream somewhere. But anyways, because you wanted them to be equal, and so Madara can't have this. Well, he doesn't have this because this is Kaguya's Ten Tails in the war arc, whereas Hashirama, and I guess the post-Warring States era, had Shibai's Ten Tails.
I don't like that, but
why?
Because well, first of all, for Naruto only, that's just weird. Second, I mean, even in general, it's kind of weird. It's just
we wouldn't know this in Naruto. I also explained that at the time. We would only find this out in Boruto.
See, I don't want that though. I want it to be a thing that we just know in Naruto. If we're gonna do this at all, I don't want a retroactive Boruto rewrite.
I mean, that just shuts down the conversation, though.
Well,
you not want to at least entertain it for the sake of progressing the conversation?
But what I said was I don't like it, and you said why. I told you why.
Well, because you don't want a retroactive Boruto rewrite?
I don't want a Boruto plot point to retcon a Naruto plot point. If we're gonna rewrite this, I want it to be in Naruto. It's already like this is what it is in Naruto.
It wouldn't be like a retcon.
Would be a retcon because it's not in Naruto. Because then in Naruto it would just be what I don't know. It would just be. It just wouldn't be that.
I mean, it wouldn't be a retcon. It would be a recon. It's not retroactively changing the continuity. It's what was the other one?
What you just said makes no sense. Yes, it is doing that, first of all. And
it's recontextualizing the continuity. What the other one is going to be.
So what would be the premise in the first one? Would it be like you rewrote it so you think it's Kaguya's Ten Tails and then it's not actually? Like, what would you think?
No, so Naruto doesn't change at all in that regard. You would only learn in Boruto that Hashirama's 1,000 arms was Shibai's Ten Tails.
So that would be a retcon because he's just making it with what style jutsu.
We don't see that.
Well, I mean, you have the data books explaining it. You also do see it. He just spawns it out of the ground or whatever he does.
He summons it, which makes no sense.
He doesn't summon it. He creates it.
He summons some things.
The Rashomon gates.
No, we did a whole video on Hashirama summoning jutsu makes no sense. Because you pointed that out. Anyways.
Anyway.
It's a rewrite anyways. So it's not retroactive continuity. It's a rewrite.
Yeah, but like the rewrite itself would be a retcon of Naruto. It's a rewrite of Boruto that retcons Naruto.
It can't do that in this case.
Yes, it can. I just said you're not changing Naruto.
I am changing Naruto now. It's a rewrite.
No, you're not. You're changing Boruto.
No, I'm changing Naruto.
That you're retconning Naruto.
That's not how that works. I'm rewriting Naruto.
No, you're not, because you said in Naruto this wouldn't be addressed. You wouldn't think it's
and Kamui. I'm saying I take that back. You're not getting that part.
So Shibai would be in Naruto?
No.
So what would be changed in Naruto?
You wouldn't see Hashirama summon or spawn or whatever, use wood style to make the deity gate or whatever. Not the deity gate, the Thousand Arm Buddha statue.
You would or wouldn't see it?
You wouldn't see it. That's the change.
So what would the databook entry say?
I don't care. I mean, you don't see Madara wrap his Susanoo around Kurama anyways. He just starts in that form. It's just off screen. Might as well do it this way. If anything, it makes it more narratively parallel-y in that regard. But it would just go with the rewrite the same way the rewrite's already been established, that Hashirama just found it if you want to do anything extra. You know, he can control it.
In the rewrite, he just found Kaguya's, but...
Well, no. In my rewrite, which was the original, he found Shibai's. You changed it to Kaguya, and then we went with that.
Yeah, but...
But this is why I was saying in the original that I didn't want the Thousand Arms to be destroyed, whereas you were saying it should be destroyed because of the war arc, but you were already changing it to where that was Kaguya, thus making this the same Ten Tails.
So I was still trying to figure out this whole Thousand Arms thing. I was saying that, like, in the fight with Madara, he destroys the Thousand Arms that Hashirama puts around the statue. So as to say, the Ghetto statue doesn't have 1,000 hands. Hashirama's just doing that part.
Yeah, and that's
similar to how
Madara's
adding the majestic attire around Kurama.
Okay.
That's the parallel.
I mean,
Hashirama's
you can like that, but you can like that, but that's not what's happening here for me. For the three.
Yeah, you're saying. Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out what you're saying about the last stream with Sauron thing that I said or whatever. Like, I feel like you're quoting that's Sauron is who you're quoting. If it's me, it feels like you're saying not only what I'm saying wrong, but with a completely different meaning. Because
I'm sorry you feel that way.
I never even discussed Madara using the Ten Tails against Hashirama in some parallel way that doesn't work thing, nonsense, whatever. I was just discussing what I just said. Hashirama puts the 1,000 hands on the Ghetto statue.
You said you didn't want Madara to be too OP in the war arc because he should be equal to Hashirama, in which case I disagreed with that anyways, but that's when the stream cut out before I could explain it.
Well, I might have said that they should be even, but in the war arc, Madara's not using Kurama, and Hashirama's not using the Ghetto statue anyway when they fight, so they just both won't have the majestic attire-like thing.
Yeah, okay, so back to my thing. So Hashirama's
your thing. So coming back to that, yeah, what you were saying, there would be no Madara using the 1,000-armed Ten Tails because that's just not a consideration to begin with.
Well, yeah, because it wouldn't be the same Ten Tails in mine.
But in the last stream, there was no other Ten Tails. So I don't know what you're referring to, but it's not what we discussed.
Why, no, because you changed it to Kaguya, then we went with it. We never discussed mine of the Shibai one.
I'm still stuck on the last point. You referenced something from last stream that was not discussed in the way that you're saying. Also, it says it's -6 outside. This is ridiculous. No wonder it's so cold when I open the door.
I was sweating with my shirt off earlier.
It's ridiculous. Anyway,
so Kamui, I will reiterate,
but I'm just saying.
I will reiterate.
Whatever you're referencing about the last stream is like twisted in some way that's just not accurate.
So what was happening is I was reading the rewrite to Sauron, and then I was saying that this was because we were like recapping what we were just saying since Sauron had just joined. I was telling him the rewrite.
I'm referring to this whole Madara 10 Tails thing and Madara being too strong, whatever thing you're saying.
Kamui, it's from multiple conversations. Okay, it's from both streams.
That thing I just said has been misconstrued in some weird way, whether it's intentional or not. Because that did not happen.
You need the context from both for them both to make sense together in the topic that I'm discussing.
Okay. All I'm saying is that this specific thing you said about last stream wasn't said in the way you said it, with the meaning that's conveyed through what you said. The rest of this could be entirely
darn right, considering all is being said by you, because you won't even let me talk all of a sudden.
Because you're changing the topic.
Oh, I'm not. What does that mean?
You are.
So what was the original topic, and what is the new topic, since I changed it?
Because you're going back to Shibai, which wasn't in last stream, really, at all. Because we moved past it for the other rewrite.
Well, that's what I was saying. So I'm referencing in the previous stream where we changed it from Shibai to Kaguya. And it went from there.
But we just immediately did so. There was no discussion of Madara using 1,000-armed 10 tails with the Shibai rewrite.
That was at a different part. I was
just gone and you were arguing with Saran with it or something.
No, that was at a different part of the conversation. But you need both of these parts for both parts to make sense in context of this conversation.
That's fine in terms of what you just said now. But in terms of what I've been trying to emphasize is that in the other part of the conversation that doesn't involve Shibai, there was no discussion of Madara using 1,000-armed 10 tails against Hashirama, is what I'm saying. That just wasn't a discussion.
It was in the discussion of the misunderstanding of Shibai versus Kaguya in terms of who we're going with. In the
Which only happened in this stream, not last stream.
You know what? After the stream, I'll find you the timestamp if you're gonna be that way.
Yes, I am gonna be that way.
I really don't want to find the timestamp.
The only thing that could have happened is you say it, and I just said, "What? No, Madara's not using the 10 tails against Hashirama," and moving on. Like that was not a discussion point.
Listen, I don't want to talk about this for 20 minutes. Okay, so if I can actually say my rewrite, it would be great.
Okay, as long as you can see that didn't happen.
It did happen, but we're moving on. Okay, we're just gonna agree to disagree. We're gonna agree to disagree. And we'll deal with it later. Okay, Space will find it for us. Space, pretty please.
I support.
You know what? We should make Cam do it. She owes us.
So I agree, but Cam's not going to do it.
I know. That's the problem. But she does owe us.
If you find it, we'll talk about MHA for 10 seconds. Or JJK for 20 seconds.
Yeah. Okay, so based on what you've already expressed, you're not gonna like this, but you're just gonna have to look past it and get over it.
I love how you have to start with that.
I'm just because I'm already done with it. So I'm before we even get to it, I'm already done with it. So after the last conversation, that I used up all of my nerve on the previous conversations. I'm already at the end of my wits. Okay, so with that being said, So instead of Hashirama wrapping his arms around the Ghetto Mazo in this case, the reason I like Shibai's Ten Tails to be Hashirama's Thousand Arm Buddha statue, my god, I'm having to keep so much vocabulary in mind. The reason I like that is because of the idea of the one tail equals each planet or whatever, and in this case, instead of 1,000 arms, it's going to be 1,000 tails.
I had a feeling that's where you were going with it. And Shibai has 1,000 tails, 10 tails, and the 1,000th tail is like the godhood tail, basically. You eat a chakra fruit from that,
how
you become a god.
Transcended, exactly. Which is why I don't want Madara to destroy those tails. It feels like almost wasted. If anything, it should be the opposite to where you should be arguing it should be because it's so OP, but then I would like it since Madara's OP.
I guess Hashirama's gonna body Madara pretty bad in this fight.
So the thing is,
you're gonna have to retract your argument about Madara not going all out if he's using Shibai's 1,000 tail, 10 tails against Madara's majestic entire Kurama.
Okay, so as funny as that is, I will say that again, this is just the husk of it. So it essentially is the same, literally, as the 1,000-arm Buddha statue.
Well, I mean, you can say that. But just the Ghetto statue is pretty OP. It's freaking doing the mini cataclysm against the Alliance and all that shit.
Well, we're just gonna, like, ignore that. Because in this case, again, it is just lifeless, and Hashirama's just imbuing life into it with his wood style. So it isn't the 10 tails, realistically. It's just wood that happens to be in the shape of Shibai's 10 tails. He's essentially puppeteering it.
Yeah, he's just breathing life into it with Yang release, almost.
Yeah. So, and again, you're not gonna like that because you want him to put the arms around it in the same way Madara puts the Susanoo around Kurama for the narrative parallel of
okay, I got a compromise for you.
Okay, got it. Yeah, go for it.
You gotta guess what my compromise is gonna be.
God. Hashirama puts further arms around the 1,000 arms.
Not quite. So, as you just said, it's the 1,000 tails, the 10 tails.
Yeah.
Nothing's stopping Madara from adding 1,000 hands, too.
You know what? I'll take it because that makes the video game more canon of the ridiculous of what that looks like.
The ridiculousness.
Yeah. Okay,
it's just swiping its tails 100 miles an hour while it's throwing its hands 100 miles an hour. Madara's like, oh, Madara has a line. If it was only hands or only tails, I could keep up, but not both.
I love it. Oh my god. Okay. Well, that fixes that because this wouldn't be the same 10 tails, so you wouldn't need to destroy the arms, and then.
Okay. But what was the segue into the Kekkei nonsense? Oh yeah, Naruto Explains video. What was the obedience? Okay, so Ryu. Oh right, because you were mentioning bloodline limits and retcons and stuff. Okay, we gotta backtrack to how we got into that. Exactly.
Kamui, we do not need to backtrack. It's 5:30 a.m. You realize this, right?
No, I haven't been looking at the time.
It's 5:30 a.m. Let that sink in. Past 5 o'clock. Almost 6 o'clock in the morning.
And we still haven't received a word from Cam.
I still can't believe
it. Be like, Cam, we're still waiting.
I'm down. Say Cam, I'll say we're still waiting.
Or you could say, are you done talking to Sour yet?
Okay, I'll say that instead. Well, would she get somehow offended at that? I'd be too afraid if she did.
Yeah, just do we're still waiting.
Yeah.
Okay, we failed!